Well, hello everyone. This is Luanne Lee with your college planning coach. Once again, I wanted to thank Bettina for inviting me to come and speak to your group a few weeks ago and meeting so many of you, and I felt very welcomed, and I felt like even though my topic is kind of a hard one to to sit through. Everyone had great questions, and I felt really bad because I thought I was going to be presenting with slides. So I thought what I might do is just go ahead and re-record with the slides so some of it would make sense and not be so boring. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's see if technology is going to work for me today. Okay, so here we go. And here's all my contact information. If you wanted to reach out, if you've got a group that I could do a presentation for. I know I spoke to one gentleman, wasn't part of your group, but he came to visit, and he's a scout leader, and he left with the pie for the day. So if you're connected to that particular gentleman, please forward this email to him, because he was very interested in having me come and speak to their scout troop. So I've been doing college planning for over 15 years now. And I, started in the financial services industry back in 1999, and soon realized that there was a big problem with how families are paying for college. And I got to see credit reports with a lot of education debt and thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way. So just fast forward, I just immersed myself in all things college planning. So I became a certified college financial planning specialist. I also have certification as a college funding student loan advisor, because for those families that I can't reach early enough to help them minimize the amount of debt, many of them are coming to me after the fact, after the student has graduated, and either mom and dad have got a tremendous amount of Parent Plus loans or private loans that they've taken on, or the students have quite a bit of federal loans that they might be able to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. It's not the Biden plan, which I don't think is ever going to happen, but public service loan forgiveness has been around since 2007. Unfortunately, it was a big mess for many years, but it's working now. And the biggest thing is that most people that have that type of debt that can be forgiven, they're just unaware of what they need to do to make that happen. And I've seen some incredible doctors, dentists, veterinarians that have had, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 of federal loan debt forgiven. Doesn't work with the private loans from private lenders, but every little bit helps. So this is just a little bit about me, and so let's kind of jump into it. Paying for college is a series of decisions. It's not a single event, although so many families wait until maybe the summer of just before their student senior year to get this thing going. And I'm here to tell you it's changed so much. The whole, it's become such a process. And the earlier that a family gets started, the better. And I'm talking 8th and 9th grade early, because there's so many things that need to be put into place, especially for those that are looking for scholarships and those third-party scholarships that are going to make a difference. Because let's just be honest, the majority of the people that are in your Rotary Club, that are in your neighborhoods and such, are never going to qualify for need-based aid. They're going to, their income and their assets are such that, they're not going to receive any need-based aid coming from the federal government or, grants from the colleges. So they're expecting to receive scholarships in the form of merit scholarships. Well, a lot of the colleges that families and students are applying to, because they're selective schools, big name schools, the top of the US Best News and Reports list, which is a bunch of hooey in my experience. It's all marketing and business, but those schools don't give merit scholarships. They only give financial need-based aid. So, it boils down to, what is a family's plan on paying for college? Have they been saving since their student was born? Did they have to stop saving because of life happens moments of job loss or illness or COVID or, whatever the case is? Or do they just not expect that the cost of college has increased, 1,000% or more since they went to college? So it's become very competitive, very expensive, and very complex. And that's why people like me come into the equation to help families maneuver through this. I just happen to be the person that's on both sides of the fence. I call myself a hybrid. I make sure that families are aware of what the financial implications are of this college process, how much it has changed since they went to college, and how the students are going to best set themselves up for acceptance into affordable schools that are going to be the right academic fit, helping them with their applications, their essays, the school selection, the aptitude tests, the career options, the extracurriculars, the helping them to market themselves, to be able to stand out amongst the flurry of, just recently it was announced UVA received 50,813 applications for the 23-24 school year. Broke records. JMU broke records, 30% more applications. So even just within Virginia, we no longer have we're going to get into George Mason. JMU is a safety school. ODU is a safety school. These are no longer safety schools. They're target schools. They're reach schools. There's wild card schools, like a school like UVA or Virginia Tech or even James Madison. So you've got to start all of this planning early, much earlier than what people are doing today. So as I stated, all of these things and then some is what I do, helping families to prepare their students to get into the right fit schools from an academic, a social, a career options that they'll flourish in once they've graduated in 4 years rather than the national average of 6, without spending mom and dad's retirement savings. So oftentimes, I can save a family anywhere upwards of 100,000 or more over the course of a 4-year plan of college. And sometimes I can't save them anything. If they're determined that their student is going to go to Boston University and they're willing to pay $85,000 a year to a school that doesn't give any merit, that only meets financial need, and they don't qualify for financial need, but they've got the peace of mind to know that they know it going in. There's not going to be any surprises. The student is got the best chance of getting accepted. I can't make any guarantees, but I know that if they follow along with me, they'll have their best opportunity of getting accepted into the schools that they should be applying to. Now, one of the main reasons that I wanted to meet at the beginning of the year with your group is Bettina had mentioned there's a lot of grandparents and they would like to help with their grandchildren, help to pay for college. And so the good news is that there's going to be big changes in the FAFSA Simplification Act, which is going to start this year for the 2024-25 school year, which is going to be next year. And so the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And that's what most families should fill out. And I don't care if they make Bill Gates kind of income, they should complete this so that they'll know where do we stand as far as for financial need coming from the government. As long as you file the FAFSA, your student can receive the federal direct student loan just in their name without you as a parent co-signing. And then some schools are going to require that FAFSA to be completed, even if you're not going to qualify for financial need. They want you to complete this to offer any kind of merit scholarships that have nothing to do with a family's finances, but have everything to do with the merit of the student, the kind of student they are with their grades and their scores and their extracurriculars and so on. So nobody likes the FAFSA. Nobody likes the figures that come up with the FAFSA, but the reality is it's the only way that some families are going to receive any kind of federal need-based aid, or that their kids are going to qualify for the federal loans, or the parents can qualify for the federal Parent Plus loans, which is the largest growing demographic of people that have education debt, or parents over the age of 50 that are taking on the Parent Plus loans. And that's pretty scary. So I try to help eliminate or minimize a lot of that. But with this FAFSA Simplification Act that's going to be changing supposedly as of October 1st, but since the day that I met with you at the country club for that wonderful lunch, the Department of Education, just like last week, has said, we might not be able to have everything put together in order to release, the FAFSA on October 1st and have families start applying for that, which I was kind of figuring all along, but heck, who listens to me? So by law, they don't have to open up this year's FAFSA on October 1st, but they do have to have it ready to be opened by December 31st of 2023 for the school year 24-25. So this is going to be for your high school seniors, as well as students that are already in college. And so that's one thing to be aware of. A second thing that is going to be helpful, especially for those of you that are wanting to help your grandchildren, up until this year, any assistance, financial assistance that a family member or grandparent helped a student, the following year, whatever that amount was, that is considered and assessed as income on the student's side of the FAFSA, which increases their expected family contribution. And In many cases, if there wasn't any financial need, it wouldn't matter. But for those students that do qualify for financial need-based aid, and I've seen plenty, then that would end up disqualifying them for the only free money that they would be receiving in the form of Pell Grants. And I've seen that happen before. I sat down with a family, single mom, 2 daughters, grandparents, and everybody except granddad and I were in tears because they realized that the small help that he was able to provide the year before kicked the one granddaughter out of receiving the only free money from West Virginia University in the form of the Pell Grant. It was just an eye-opening, uncomfortable meeting. So, but anyways, I've got a bazillion stories. So if you want to know if your adult children, if they qualify for financial need-based aid, I would hold off on making that financial contribution for your grandchild until we know for absolute certain that this new FAFSA Simplification Act is going to go and be put into place for the 24-25 school year. If there's no financial need, they're not eligible for Pell Grants or grants from the colleges, then it's not going to matter. One of the big changes that is going to be very detrimental to families is the multi-child discount. And I'll share an example of that in another slide. Another is up until this year, a family-owned business or a family farm that's lived on as a business, you did not have to provide the assets of those businesses. And now you're going to have to add that to the FAFSA, which is going to kick out a lot of people from receiving financial need-based aid. Over the years, I've had a number of small business owners, like many of us, that unfortunately came across unfortunate times with their businesses, especially during COVID. But I've always, looked for the silver lining and saw that, hey, the silver lining is if your income dropped considerably and you have a student that's going off to college, what better time to have less income? And especially if those students are applying to more selective schools that give 100% of financial need. I mean, I've got a couple of examples, a student that mom is a business owner and business really did not do well. The son is at Boston University, and instead of paying $85,000, like one family that I have who has a student attending Boston, they're paying $16,000 because of her financial situation. So now the son, the year before, didn't get accepted at Boston, did accept to attend VCU, and was paying more to attend a local in-state college, VCU, than what he's paying now as a transfer student to Boston. So it's all about knowing the ins and outs and how a school is going to assess the need and such. So the family business, if it did not have to be included in those calculations, and now for every college, it's going, those valuations are going to be included on the FAFSA. Another thing that is going to make a big change is for divorced and separated families. And up until now, where whoever the student lived with more than 50% of the year was the parent that was going to have their income and assets assessed. And in many times, it was very beneficial to have this done. Now it's going to be tied directly to your taxes. And we're seeing that if, let's just say that the one parent that makes a lot more money than the other, it's their year to have the student as a deduction on their taxes, it could end up them losing out on any financial aid that they would have qualified for. So tax planning is going to be a major component for families right now before it gets time to completing that FAFSA, especially for those divorced and separated families. So my concern is going to be for those that have students that are already at schools, that they made those choices because when they filed their FAFSA and showing that, okay, we've got multiple students in college, overlapping years and such, and we're going to receive a lot more grant money, that's going to go away. That's going to be a major thing. And with these divorced families, the possibility of eliminating a lot of those grant monies as well, the family businesses and whatnot. So the average middle income American family is going to have it's going to be a major impact. The only another good thing that came out of this is up until now, those that were divorced, if you received child support, it was showing up and being assessed as income, which is assessed much higher than assets. Now it's going to be assessed as an asset rather than income, which is a good thing. So the financial aid process, it's basically the cost of attendance minus the expected family contribution, or what will soon turn into just a name change, student aid index, is going to equal the financial need for a family. And then what we want to know is how is the school going to assess that need? And so understanding the EFC, or what will soon be the SAI, it's parents' income and assets, student income and assets. You get some allowances for FICA and Social Security and whatnot. How many are in your household? How many kids are, well, it used to be how many kids are going to be in college. That's not going to make a difference anymore. The tax planning is prior. So here we have, if you've got a senior right now, we were using the 2021 taxes for the 23-24 incoming college year. Next year in October, hopefully, when the FAFSA opens, your senior is going to be applying for the 24-25 college year, incoming college year, and they will be using the 2022 tax return, current assets, but prior tax return. So for those that need to do that tax planning, it needs to be done now before taxes are filed for 2022. So this is showing an example of what this FAFSA Simplification Act is going to happen for these multiple student discount. So right now, the cost of attendance, say it's $50,000, your expected family contribution is $20,000, you have a need of $30,000, a gap. And that college is going to give $10,000 in merit on the merit of your student. It has nothing to do with your income or assets. But they're going to meet a certain percentage, and they'll meet $15,000 of that financial need. So the out-of-pocket expense for this $50,000 a year school is going to be $25,000. And let's just say there's no inflation or such. That's a 4-year cost of $100,000. But now we no longer have that multiple student discount. So your cost of attendance is $50,000, but now your expected family contribution is going to be, instead of that $20,000 per student with the 2 students, it's now going to be individual, and it's going to be $40,000 in this example. So now the need is only $10,000. What is this going to do? You're going to have an additional $36,000 in this example over the 4 years to pay out of pocket, times 2, depending on whatever the cost of attendance and calculations are for the other school. That's a pretty substantial increase. So this is just some software that I use, but it breaks down cost of attendance, how much financial need a school is going to be met, and how much of that is going to be in gift money, which is grants and scholarships and not loans or self-help. What their percentage of, graduating in 4 years and such. So even, looking at a school like Harvard that's 77,000, you're immediately going to think, oh my gosh, we can't afford that. But if you're a family that meets financial need, Harvard meets 100% of financial need-based aid. So that could be an opportunity if you've got a super high achieving student that checks all the boxes that could possibly get accepted. So you don't eliminate applying to those more expensive schools as long as you know that you can fit into certain categories. The student still has to be accepted, and just like UVA having over 50,000 applications, it's the same thing with most selective and more popular big name schools these days. So here's my program that's going to show you. This example is a family with 170,000 adjusted gross income, and has got about 150,000 in assets that are assessed on the FAFSA. They also have $600,000 of equity in their home, and a school like NYU, which is a lot of students' dream school, they assess the equity in your home, and NYU is 100%. Some schools don't assess it at all. Some have a different calculation. So you'll see here that, and this is the example of now with 2 students that are going to be in college. So the federal expected family contribution is $31,000. The institutional, because they're taking into account the equity, is $43,000. Now, this particular example, there was about $100,000 that was designated as a 529 plan. And so this is the annual budget for this particular family. Now, if we look down here, we see need-based grants, and 36,000 for the first year and increases each year. The cost of attendance for NYU, we're looking at between $83,000 and $85,000 this year. I have a student that just the day, actually the day of the luncheon, she was moving into her dorm. The family is paying $85,000 for the privilege of going to NYU for her first year. Notice they don't give any kind of a merit scholarship. This red arrow down here, it's zeros. They only give financial need-based aid, and they don't give 100% of need-based aid. Now, these figures up here, the 85,000, that's taking into account the cost of attendance minus the EFC equals the need, and how much need do they give. So this family, even though they're paying over $100,000 out of their savings and received $158 or so thousand of grant money, they're still coming out of pocket $85,000. And so that's the standard 10-year repayment is $947 per month for 10 years. So how many students are going to be able to pay that? And so we haven't, this example isn't showing how much of this is the student, how much is the parent. This is just the overall, okay, you have a gap of $85,000. This is what it's going to look like. Now, this 4612 over here on the right column this is a student that went in with an undecided, undeclared major, and the average 1, 5, and 10-year graduation time period for students that went to NYU with an undecided are making about $4,600 take home. And so it helps to look at, okay, am I going to be able to support myself with an apartment, food, entertainment, car payment maybe, and still make that loan payment. Now, remember, this is before the FAFSA Simplification Act, and this is a family with two students in college. Now, going into FAFSA simplification, we're just indicating one student. We still have 2 students in college, but you can see the EFC or student aid index, however you want to put it, has changed dramatically. So now it's 60,000 or 67,000. The savings is still the same as far as what you've indicated that you are willing to pay out of pocket during those 4 years. So now the need-based grants have dwindled, and the merit scholarship is still at 0 because NYU doesn't give merit. So now, even though, once again, you ended up paying over $100,000 out of pocket, you get $136,000 in grants, you're still going to have another gap of $107,000 or so of maybe you took it out in loans. And now that loan repayment is now $1,190. And I expect these numbers to be higher because inflation, is every year this cost of education is increasing. So I would dare say that by the time this student finishes, the total cost of attendance is probably going to be closer to $380,000 for an undergrad degree. Do you think that's worth it? I certainly don't. So now let's take the example of VCU. And so the figures aren't changing, but the cost of attendance has changed dramatically from 85,000 to 34,000. And so now there's a less than $40,000 in loans. And now that repayment is in the $400 to $500 a month range, rather than, close to $2,000 a month with a very similar take-home pay. So if we put the blinders on and forget about the dream schools that tend to become nightmares, and look at the reality of, okay, I'm getting the same degree just at a much lower cost. And we might have money left over to be able to go on to grad school. So I help to bring that voice of reason and break this down to families so that they understand what the actual reality is going to be. And even this $400 to $500 a month, a student could manage that without any problem from the parent, or without any help from the parent. So once again, here is all of my contact information. Feel free to share this with anyone that might be in that 8th, 9th grade world, or juniors, seniors. It's a bit late, but I once again appreciate the time that you gave me to just stand up there and talk. As you can see, I could probably talk for hours without slides, but I thought you'd get a little bit more benefit with the slides. So I wish you all the best. Again, Bettina, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share, and reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever. Alrighty, take care. And for those of you that are grandparents, go help those kids. They're going to need you. All right.